everybody, I'm Andrea Patton from A Patton Fine Art, and this video is brought to you by the amazing NARA. I have been using NARA paper for many years, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. They have so many different types of paper, different sizes, different thicknesses. I like to use the 330 microns. They have black paper, white paper, they have stickers, and they have circles. And that's what I am going to teach you today on NARA paper. So we are going to create this beautiful little bluebird, and with NARA paper you can paint on either side, and I like NARA paper because you can wipe it all the way off if you make a mistake and it goes right back to white. So NARA paper is the way to go. They're out of India, and when I get my NARA paper, it's always packed beautifully and I get it so quickly. So I hope you consider using NARA paper. All right, so I already drew out this little bluebird, and I used Firefly alcohol markers, and I like to always add my beak and my eye, and I used a Sharpie permanent marker, and I drew on the branch lightly, and I used this Copic sketch marker. This is in warm gray. You can barely see it, but I like to have my guidelines all kind of out there. And for the inks today, for his body, part of his body, I'm going to use Ranger, Glacier, and then, did you know, NARA makes inks as well. So for the background, I'm going to use this Caterpillar stain. I absolutely love the way they come up with these names. And then Tangerine will be part of its body. And then I've got a little bit of alcohol ink Slate Ranger. That'll probably be used for the branch. I have good old 93% isopropyl alcohol in my little bottle with a little cap, little needle cap. You can get these from Amazon. So everything's already in my tray. I'll probably put the slate in later. I've got different kinds of paintbrushes. Most are round different sizes. This is kind of a mixture of a flat and a round, but I like to have lots of different sizes. These are from Artist Loft. This is a size 8. Some of these are brushed off. This is a 6. And let's see here. I think I had a kind of a small one. That's a 0. So I like to have several paintbrushes always on hand. And these are, I don't think these are all from Artist Loft, but you don't have to invest a lot of money in your paintbrushes. You clean them with alcohol. I also have alcohol ink blending pen, which is filled with alcohol. And that's what we're going to use to remove the ink and make these little tiny pussy willows, which are so cute. So first of all, I'm going to do the background. So I am going to take the alcohol and spread it all around. I like it. This makes the ink move around quicker. I am going to take some of this green and move it all around. Might need to add a little bit more alcohol ink. I'm going to go ahead and apply it right onto the background. You know, alcohol ink, sometimes it gets a little clogged, so you got to squeeze it. All right. And I try to stay away from the actual bird until the very end because I don't want it to start moving into what I drew. So try to control them by working on the outside before you work on the inside. That makes sense? All right. Getting close to the bird. A little more alcohol. Keep it moving. All right, now we're getting closer. And if it gets too close, I blow it to make it dry a little quicker. Stop it from spreading. You want to use the very tip of your brush to get around that beak. Okay. Blowing it just a little bit. All right. And while I'm working on this background, I want to talk to you about the Alcohol Ink Art Society. And I really hope you'll consider joining. It's got so many helpful resources and ink projects. The proceeds will go to this channel, to Facebook communities, and to website maintenance. You can sign up at the link below in the comments, and you'll get 10% off. So I hope you consider joining it. It's amazing, amazing resources. All right, I am good around the body, but I want to add some more around the outer area. Spread it out, so we add our alcohol. You could break it in kind of close to the bird. Just don't let the alcohol spread onto the bird, or you'll be doing a lot of cleanup. Okay. You can hear me blowing. Blowing will stop it from moving. All right, got the background. Maybe a little bit more alcohol here to blend that out. And if you keep on moving your brush around like I am, it will start streaking. So you have to be careful about that, because then you'll see little marks. I see a few on mine, but I think it looks just fine. All right, I'm going to put this brush aside, and I am going to start working on the blue. And with the blue, I will use, this is a 3 round brush. Always like to double check and make sure that there's no ink on the brush, so I put a little alcohol in the palette. All right, I am gonna dip into the blue, thin it out a little, don't need much, and start working. Oh, I like what's happening here. So, gosh, it looks like the light source is coming from the left. That was some alcohol moving that ink around. Kind of cool. Alright, seem to have a lot of ink on my brush. See if I can get this a little closer. Pretty. You can use any kind of blue you want. I just happen to like this glacier blue. Sailboat blue is nice. It's very similar to glacier blue actually. All right, lightly work on the head. I still have plenty of ink in my paintbrush. A little bit goes a long way with alcohol ink. All right, we do a little bit more. I'm going to dip in just a little bit. A little bit on the tail here. Go down the neck just a little bit here, and this little eastern bluebird is turning his head and looking at something. Probably the photographer. I got this photo, this reference photo from, let's see, it's the Bluebird Facebook community, believe it or not. They have a Facebook site for everything, don't they? And I asked the guy if I could use the photo for a reference. I always ask the photographers first, and he was happy to let me use it. And usually they ask me, hey, please show me what you painted, and I'll share it with them. All right, got that part done. Now I am going to get a new paintbrush, put this one aside, and gonna start working on this orange or tangerine, but it dried up, so I'm gonna add a little bit of alcohol to it. And I wanted it a little bit lighter anyway because the tangerine was quite dark. So that looks nice. Short little brush strokes. Go up under his little chin. I live in Texas, and I have not seen a bluebird here that I can remember. We have robins, and we have cardinals, and many, many birds, but I do not remember ever seeing a bluebird here. An eastern bluebird, when I went to see my sister in Virginia last year, I did see the bluebirds. Of course, she's out east. And they're absolutely beautiful little birds. All right, it's white on the underside here, but I'm just going to go along the little blue edges where I outlined it and cover that up just a little bit. And I'm gonna mix some tangerine and some blue together to get, I'm gonna dilute it a little bit, to get a kind of a light brown. Test it out on your paper towel. And give it a little bit of dimension there. This guy's got a little bit of brown in his feathers. This guy or girl, I'm thinking it's a boy. I don't know. It seems like the boys have the bright, beautiful colors when it comes to birds. Let's see here. A little bit under his chin. Just a little goes a long way, little tiny bit. A little bit on his face, it looked like. He had kind of a different shade around his eyes. So I'm just mixing that right on top of the blue. A little bit more. As my alcohol ink dries on my paintbrush, I can make a little bit more brush strokes. This is when you want it to streak a little bit. Okay, I added a little bit of alcohol on the edge of my brush because I want to add some light areas. And what I have on my brush, a little bit on my brush, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in his beak. Okay, like that. You can keep playing with it. You could even take a little white gel pen and draw some feathers out if you like. All right, now I am going to draw on again the stem of the little pussy willow. I think it was something like that. Ooh, this pen is just about out of ink. I don't need it to show up very much because I'm going to go over it again. Yeah, it's out of ink. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Sharpie. I think a Sharpie will work better, be able to see it more. This is where his little, move this up just a little bit for you. Right about where his feet are going to be. Draw that on, and we are going to paint this lightly with that slate color. And then goes right over his body. Another one coming out right here. Don't, you don't have to press too hard. Be really light with your pen. And that helps you to make simple, straight lines. All right, so there's my guide. I'm going to go ahead and put his little leg, and I'll use the Sharpie as well. So there's one coming out here. It's kind of hidden by the little pussy willow, and then there's going to be one here, the one in the back. So you don't really have to add a lot of detail because I'm going to put one of these little puff balls, little pussy willows. All right, that's good. Now we're going to have some fun. So I'm going to use the smaller tip of this alcohol ink blending pen, which you can, let me see, it is Ranger. It's nice because you can pull this little piece out and then fill it up with alcohol. But before you do that, test it on some other alcohol ink because you don't want it coming out too fast. All right, so I did test this on another piece of alcohol ink and it was coming out very nicely. So I'll start with the bottom, and I'm just touching it, barely touching it. And it's removing the ink. And I think it's just perfect for these little pussy willows. But again, you want to be careful. You want to test it first, because if you put way too much alcohol, it's going to spread and it's just not going to look right. Just make as many as you want. And then I wipe it on the paper towel because there's some green on there. So I want it really clean when I'm doing this, because you want it to be white. All right, I like that. I think that's cute. Now, a couple more things. We are going to get some of that slate, and I'm gonna go straight slate. I'm not gonna use any blending solution or alcohol with it because I want it to be kind of dark, and I want it to be thick. So I've added some to my palette. And here we go. Just light strokes. Again, you don't want a lot of ink because then that branch will really start blending and spreading out, and you don't want it to be a really thick branch. So always less is more with alcohol inks. I'm gonna add a little, kind of has some little holders to these little pussy willows. And then what we could do is we could darken up some areas of the branch with our Sharpie. All right, I like that. And just little, sometimes the branch has little nodules if you want to make it realistic, little knobs coming out, little extensions. You can make little lines on there, little dots. Just have some fun with it. I love making things very realistic. Now we are going to do the little eye. And with the eye, you always want to have a little sparkle, so leave a little tiny circle, just a little tiny circle, and that gives him some character. You can darken the beak if you like, a little bit. Make the beak small. If you make the beaks too big on a bird, they don't come out right. This guy's got some real pointy areas of the wing, so go ahead and use your Sharpie make a nice sharp point, and then it looks like the back wing is black. So I will just go ahead and fill that in black, make it nice and sharp, nice and pointy. Hidden back there a little bit of darkness on the tail. And let's see, it's a little bit of black right here on parts of the wings. Kind of a little bit of, it's kind of hidden there. A little bit on the top maybe. Very lightly underneath the chin. And I think he looks just fine. There he is. Little Eastern Bluebird. I hoped you liked this lesson, and buy NARA paper. It's amazing. And again, join the Alcohol Ink Art Society. Thank you very much.